What's going on, everyone? Justin here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're on day 3 of the Lotus Evora stereo install. Today is just going to be dedicated to the oscilloscope that I'm going to be using for getting the audio levels dialed in for the amplifiers before I connect the speakers, and then hopefully be able to hear the speakers themselves, which is going to be exciting. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. This will be the last chapter in this stereo install, and I also have a couple of guests that accompany me today. Say what's up.
How's it going? This bolt won't fit in. What the fuck?
All right, anyway, I'm going to jump right in. All right, welcome back to my trunk. And so basically, I'm going to be getting started with the amplifiers, flattening out the settings that they have on these. I've also gone and downloaded a frequency test generator. And so basically, the order I'm going to be doing this in is now that we have power and ground connected and the RCA cables connected, just going to go through the settings on the sides of the amps, make sure that they're dialed in for the purpose that they're going to be serving. Obviously, this is going to be for the subwoofer. This is going to be for the components. I'm going to feed in a test tone through the receiver for the range that they're going to support. So the sub is obviously going to support lower frequencies. The component is going to support mid-range up to the tweeter. And I have a little wire, speaker wire that I'm going to be connecting to the amp that I'm going to be testing, and then the oscilloscope is going to be connected to the end of that. So basically, I'm going to start on the amp and then work my way back up to the receiver and then come back this way. All right, so the first amplifier I'm going to work on is the JL audio amp. This is for the subwoofer, obviously. Just walking through the settings here. You have a preamp filter. I'm not using the preamp, so that doesn't matter. There's an amp low-pass filter, so that's basically the point at which the frequencies are going to pass. So anything below that set point is going to pass. Frequency response for the subwoofer I chose is 41 hertz to 400 hertz. I got that right off the manufacturer's website. You can just look at the specs. So basically this will support all the way up to what this amp is going to pass. So for the test, I'm going to go all the way up top to 200. I'll let it pass everything to the sub because it can handle it. I don't want any bass boost. Input voltage I'm going to have on low. It's a low preamp input. Input sensitivity all the way down, because that's what we're going to be dialing in later. And signal sensitivity or signal sensing I have off, because that would basically determine if there's a signal, turn on the amp. Since I have a dedicated remote for it, I don't need to bother with that. And so those are the settings on the amplifier, and I'm now going to move over to the component one. All right, and then moving on to the K2, which is going to be for the components. The settings here are very similar, only this one's going to be used for mid-range. So it's kind of the opposite. You have your low-pass, full, and high-pass filter. Low-pass would be for subs, full would be for full-range speakers, which these aren't full-range. It's mid and high. So I'm going to do high-pass filter, HPF. Gain, again, this is all the way flat. It's all the way at the bottom. And then I'll turn it up slowly. Input level is low. Frequency, I want to pass all frequency, but eventually I'll be blocking out the low frequencies. And ADAS assign is in case you wanted your parking sensors, basically if you have a tone, you could have it come in through the amplifier, which I'm not going to bother with. And then the controller input, obviously I'm not using that. Upgrade is neat. I didn't even see that until now. So it's probably got some software I could download and then upgrade the amplifier, which I guess I could try to see what firmware it's running and then update it accordingly. Not going to get too crazy though. So amplifier settings are good. Now it's just a matter of connecting up the speaker wire and then the oscilloscope. But I'm going to jump onto the receiver now and get those settings confirmed as well. All right, so with the receiver, I basically have to get Bluetooth connected first. So I'm going to jump in here and try to find my tablet. I should now be able to select a sound. I'm not going to hear anything, but something should be coming out of it. So I'm going to just select, you know what, I'm going to go right to the middle here, 25, home, and it looks like it's working. And how I'm going to be able to test this is, again, looking at the oscilloscope. So I think it's time. I'll get the oscilloscope set up, and I'm going to select the first frequency. Since I'm using the subwoofer and that supports all the way down to 40 hertz, I'm going to be setting 40 hertz. So in my frequency generator, I gotta get past this add, unfortunately. 40 hertz. Actually, I think it said the limit was 41 hertz, so I'll do that. So there you go. There's your 41 hertz waveform that it's sending through Bluetooth to the receiver, and then the receiver is outputting this over the RCA cables that are connected to the subwoofer amp, the JL. And so now I'm going to go, and obviously the wave isn't going to look like this. That's just generated. But I'm going to see what it actually visually looks like out of the channel output of the amplifier. Just one channel, because left and right are going to be the same. So stand by for that. Okay, so I have the oscilloscope set up, and basically what you're seeing is 41 hertz output from my tablet over the tone generator, going through the RCA cables out of the receiver to the amplifier, and then this is channel 1, which is the left channel. So I'm probing it with the oscilloscope. I have the volume of the receiver maxed out just to prove a point, and I have bass, which you want to flatline that, but I have bass turned all the way up. And basically I'm going to just show you what clipping looks like. So at 41 hertz, I'm going to increase the volume being sent to the receiver just by upping the volume output of my tablet. And this is a clean sine wave. So, you know, basically what your speaker is it's emulating this. This is the visual representation of what the speaker is doing. So it's an AC current that's going to these speakers, and it basically travels in and out to follow along that wave with the frequencies that it's trying to represent. If I increase the volume and decrease it, you'll see that the waveform is going to change in amplitude. So that's the height of the waveform. As I increase it, what you'll see is the top of the waveform is starting to distort. And that's what you're actually hearing when you're getting clipping. So this is clipping. That's a perfect visualization of it, where the top and bottom of the waveform is now flat. And that is going to sound like distortion. And as I increase the volume even further, you see it almost becomes a square wave. So that is going to sound terrible. And then that could also damage your speaker on top of that. Additionally, if the amplitude is too great, so you're pumping out too much power to the speaker, you'll start to distort the woofer cone. So if it's not rigid enough, it'll basically flap. You could also have the speaker bottom out, so it exceeds the physical limitations of the speaker basket that's holding the woofer in place, and it'll start to hit the material of the basket. And so that will basically destroy your speaker. Additionally, if you start to overpower the handling of it, you could start to melt components. So basically the wiring that's, you know, going through the speaker for the coil will actually melt. And so you want to avoid all that. I do know that these amplifiers are not going to overpower the speakers. And so all I'm going to be doing now is going through the frequencies and doing the max volume output of my receiver and just noting that that's going to not experience clipping. And so for the subwoofer, what I've chosen is, let's see if I put it here, 40, 80, 100, and 400 hertz. And I've determined based on the manufacturer that the sub handles 41 to 400 hertz. So again, I'll do 40, 80, 100, and 400, and I'm going to note the volume output level of the receiver, and whichever one is going to start to distort, I want to basically use that as the top level volume output that I'm going to be using for the receiver. So for example, if 35 is going to start clipping, then I want to not go past 34. And so, yeah, basically I'm going to start changing the frequency. And as you can see right now, this is 41. And just to complete this example, I'm going to do 80. There you go. This is 80. That's 50. There's 129. You get the point. All right, so I'm going to play around with this. And like I said, I'm going to get the top volume per frequency. I'll note it on the spreadsheet or this piece of paper, and then I'll share that at the end of this. All right, so basically had the oscilloscope set up, did the test frequencies, went through the entire range for both amplifiers, and came up with a max volume of 36. So on the receiver, Bluetooth on the test tone generator tablet was maxed out. So I had max volume, which is basically how I'm going to be running it whenever I'm listening to music in the car. I always just max out the volume on that. It did get less distorted if I even dropped the volume one or two settings, or like one or two notches. But honestly, I'll just max it out, and then I was adjusting from there. So Bluetooth volume, output maxed, no sub out dB increases. So there's like a subwoofer plus or minus dB. I kept that at 0, flattened out. And then the EQ was also flat. So there are some EQ settings in there for like rock and pop and powerful or whatever. I just kept that at flat. With all that, increasing the volume, I was able to get max 36 before I got distortion on any of the frequencies. And so, you have to be really careful when you're adjusting the input sensitivity, but you can see just a hair, you're talking like 1/64th of a turn of the potentiometer, which is basically what it is. It goes from distorted at the very top of the waveform where it's going to start to a complete nice sine wave. And so did that across the entire frequency range, like I said, for both amplifiers, and it looks good. The gain input, right, that is the amplification that's applied to what's being fed from the receiver, and then it goes through further processing after that. It is worth noting that the JL input sensitivity I was able to have much higher, and then across the entire frequency range there was less clipping. It's just, I think, a better quality amp than the Kappa. This Infinity I spent, I think, $86 on or something like that. So it's going to serve its purpose. The power output is not going to exceed what the component set is. But you can see that, if it was a better quality amplifier design with better circuitry or whatever, it wouldn't have as much clipping across the frequency range. Definitely saw some weird stuff with how the waveform was being distorted. It wasn't just regular clipping. It was just like the waveform itself was getting squashed. So it's probably captured in the time lapse. But yeah, definitely could have gotten away with a better quality amp. But whatever, it's gonna be just fine for my purposes. And 36 out of 40 is well beyond what I'm gonna be listening to anyway. I'm probably gonna only be cranking this thing up to like 20 to 25, whatever. It's a small car. I have the Dynamat in there, so I think it's gonna be pretty efficient, just as is. So, yep, there's the table that I put together. It's not very nice looking, but just went through the frequencies on what the subwoofer and the component set could be fed, and got the max volume. But 36 is the magic number, so I'm just going to keep it at that. And now the fun part, I actually get to connect the speakers and hear what it sounds like. And so I'm going to wire up the tweeter just temporarily because I just have the wires hanging out there. Obviously, I can't get the tweeter fully installed until the dash is in, but I'll just have that hanging out, and I'll do a video of me listening to the music and see what it sounds like. So stand by for that. All right, so basically got everything dialed in, ready to go, and now we get to actually hear what it sounds like. The tweeter, I just have it connected kind of jalopy with these, whatever, wire alligator clips. But again, that's just a temporary thing, and this should be able to handle enough, current across this, so it's not going to be a problem. So I got my royalty-free music. Thank you very much, Pasha, for the tip there, so I don't get taken down. And we get to actually hear it. And so, cross your fingers. Let's see what this thing sounds like. I gotta make sure the volume's all the way the hell down. I don't have any FM radio connected, and I'm not gonna use one anyway because it's antiquated, and I'm only gonna really be using Bluetooth streaming. Probably just listening to podcasts the whole time. So we'll do a little bit of Bluetooth. Put the volume all the way the hell down. Also because my family's sleeping. And let's hear some royalty-free music. Once I get that connected. There we go. Oh my God. Wow, that sounds really good. That's at what, volume 4? All right. So we're putting this all the way down. And I'm going to put this volume all the way up because that's how I'm going to listen to my music.
pretty good to me.
What do you think?
That's fucking awesome.
I'm very happy with that. All right, so there you go. I didn't even get to max volume. That was like, what, 22? I think I should push it just once. Although the subwoofer really should break in. I don't want to go too bananas with it.
1637, guy.
Yeah, right. I don't want to blow this shit up as soon as I connect it. I'm very happy with that.
That's nice and clean.
Yeah, man.
No clipping at all.
No. And the tweeters, it's nice and tinny. Got some nice highs there.
Yeah.
It's like a salt shaker.
Shit. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So once that's installed, that's gonna sound pretty damn good.
What do you think, Posh? Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this. All right, so I guess that's it. Now the audio final assembly is just going to be putting the panels back in place, making sure that nothing hits the front of the subwoofer,
Clean up these wires.
cleaning up the wires. I guess I'll do a time lapse on that. It's pretty boring stuff at this point.
I'll time lapse you.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Putting everything back together now. And I'm running out of stuff to do while I'm waiting on parts, so I'm starting to look at a methanol kit. That might be the next video series, is just trying to figure out how I can do methanol injection in this thing. So, yeah. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night.